Listening.
Who are you?
I'm your worst nightmare.
Covenant, you're calling Raven.
Payback time.
Come with me if you want to live.
You just don't turn it off!
What is up, guys? My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema, where we talk movies of the past that you know and love. And today we are reviewing Rambo 3 from 1988. Now, this is another great action film from the 1980s, guys. I believe at the time it had the biggest budget of any film. Now, it didn't do that well domestically as Rambo 2 did, but the numbers I looked at, they put 65 million into it. They got 189 million worldwide, which is still pretty good. It didn't do as good domestically, but from those numbers, I still see that being a successful movie. What really hurts this movie is the politics at the time of this movie's release. You want to go into this just as an action fan. You just want to sit down and watch a good action film for an hour and a half or so. I feel like this movie delivers on that. So hit me up in the comments. Let's talk Rambo 3. Let's have a healthy conversation about Rambo 3. Have you seen this movie? Have you not? And if you have, let's talk about it. So Rambo 3 was directed by Peter McDonald, released in 1988, and starring Sylvester Stallone and Richard Crenna. Rambo mounts a one-man mission to rescue his friend Colonel Trotman from the clutches of the formidable invading Soviet forces in Afghanistan. So this movie starts off with this huge stick fight, which is awesome, and we get to see Stallone's physique here, which he was fucking jacked in this movie. He's got what you call the Rambo back. I mean, his back is just freaking jacked, man. And I love this stick fight. This is one of my favorite fight moments, man. I absolutely love the stick fight here. And it's really what it's showing is Rambo, you know, trying to fight that killer instinct inside of himself. He's trying to like keep a lid on that, you know what I mean? Like, my war is over. And that's where we find Rambo in this. We find Rambo in Thailand, living on a monastery. You know, they let him stay there. He fixes things. And Trotman comes up to him for another mission. He needs Rambo's help to help the Afghanistan people from Russian invading forces. Now, Rambo here says something like, my war is over. So Rambo really has had enough of being a soldier, enough of war. I guess what happened to Rambo 2 with Co, he had enough. So he's just trying to move on and be a part of something. This is where Rambo and Trotman get into this discussion about Rambo saying, listen, my war is over. I want it to end. And Trotman like does this great little speech, does this like analogy of, you know, we never made you this fighting machine. We just chipped away all the rough edges. Meaning that, you know, you're always going to be a soldier. It's what you are. It's who you are. You know, when we trained you, we just chipped away those rough edges. But that killer instinct was always inside of you. And this is about Rambo just fighting against that.
We didn't make you this fighting machine. We just chipped away the rough edges. You're always going to be tearing away at yourself until you come to terms with what you are.
Now, mind you, they don't do an excellent job. They don't do a very particularly good job of completing that arc of him, you know, accepting that he's that soldier. It's something Stallone does a lot better in Rambo 4, which we'll get into in the future when we go to review that. Well, what brings Rambo into this is when Colonel Trotman takes this mission and he gets captured. This is all about, you know, just Rambo going to save Trotman, save his friend, save his father figure. I love how you get to see Trotman in the mix here. You get to see Trotman fighting right side by side with Rambo. There's some pretty good dialogue between the Russian leader and Trotman that I've always enjoyed.
They'd rather die than be slaves to an invading army. You can't defeat a people like that. We tried. We already had our Vietnam. Now you're going to have yours.
And I do feel like they try to bring Rambo again. They try to make him a little bit more grounded than he was in Rambo 2. I really feel like they were going for a little bit more serious Rambo until the third act, until it kind of gets into those 80 cheesy one-liners. But for the first half of this movie, they kind of keep that at bay. I do like seeing Rambo bonding with the Afghanistan people. There's this great scene where he's got to play this game that parallels football that the Afghanistan people use with horses and stuff. And it's a pretty rough game. And then there's the big, you know, action set piece that happens. But the action set pieces, I think, are awesome in this. I love the action in this movie. Like I said, shut your brain off. Just watch some good old Rambo. Watch an action movie. You're going to have a good time with it. I particularly love when he goes to rescue Trotman the first time. He kind of fails, but that whole action sequence when he's going through the minefield with his knife, and then, he breaks into the prison, and there's a certain intensity that really ramps up where Rambo's been made. Great action sequence. There's some great action sequences in the caves and everything that really mimics, you always get that scene where Rambo's taking people out systematically one by one. So I really love that. There's a good kind of end fight scene with the Russian's minion, this real big dude where Rambo, kicks him down the hole. The guy explodes. So, and that third act action sequence where Trotman and Rambo take on a whole fucking Russian army, man. It's awesome. It's badass. So the action completely delivers for me. I will say in the latest watch, I did find myself getting a little bored at times through some scenes. For the most part, it has a really good pace to the film. Like I said before, we see Trotman in the mix. I just love seeing Trotman fighting side by side with Rambo. He's getting in on the action. He's breaking neck. They have some comedic one-liners where Trotman goes, "How's the pain? How's the wound, John?" He's like, "You taught us to ignore pain, didn't you?" Was it working? Not really. I love that. I like seeing this. Finally, we see Trotman and Rambo fighting side by side, right? Just like we would imagine it in when they were in Vietnam, when he commanded him and everything like that. The score is pretty good. I don't find it as memorable as Rambo 1 or Rambo 2, but still a decent score. Still works for me. I don't think any of the villains are particularly great in this one. I mean, in Rambo 2, you had the Russian bad guy, Pavlovsky, and I think he's a lot more charismatic, better one-liners than the guy we get here. He's just a very stock 80s villain. But you also had Murdoch in Rambo 2 that kind of amped that up. You don't really have any of that here. You just basically have one stock, stereotypical 80s Russian bad guy in this. And at the end of it, Rambo wins the day. Rambo, Trotman, they go off into the sunset kind of, and you assume Rambo's joining the special forces at the end of this movie, but it's very ambiguous. And so the arc's really not completed there, where him accepting himself as a soldier. It's just kind of like they just end the movie with, Trotman goes, John, I think we're getting soft. And Rambo's just like, just a little, sir. Just a little. Sloppy writing. You know what I mean? But we go for this for the action. We're going for it for what Stallone can deliver on the action department. It delivers on the action. Just, again, they got to tighten up the character work. When you set something up, you got to finish it. That's all. So in a nutshell, the movie's just really about this bond between war buddies, or this father and son relationship, but, always being there for each other when no one else will, when your country abandons you. And that's what Rambo does in this. And you know what? I've always enjoyed Rambo 3 for what it is. I loved it as a kid. So I'm going to give a Rambo 3 from 1988 a B-. What about you guys? Let me know in the comments below what you think of Rambo 3. Do you like it? Don't you like it? Let's have a good conversation about Rambo 3. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this review. If you like other reviews, then go check them out at the end card. I'll put related content there. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema. I will see you next time, and I will see you in the movies. Cheers.